Mickey Spagnola joins us right here on 365 Sports from DallasCowboys.com as the Cowboys Sunday night game against the Packers and the return of Micah Parsons. Mickey, thank you so much. Appreciate your time. What will be, in your opinion, when he's first out there and there's enough fans in the stadium, what will the reaction be, positive or negative?
Oh, I think it'll be positive. And I think there'll be a lot of cheeseheads there to help it be positive.
Yeah, that's right? True. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, the Cowboy fans, if they can make money selling their tickets, that'll be important. So, yeah. I mean, I don't know that the fans, I mean, I haven't felt that you know, they're just mad at him for not signing with the Cowboys. And I don't, you know what? I don't think either side, look, Micah got what he wanted, right? Did he ask to be traded? Yes, they got traded. Did he want to be the highest paid non-quarterback extension? Yes, and he got that too. So, you know, the fact that they didn't send him to Siberia or anything, my God, he's in Green Bay and he's on a very good team. So I don't know where any of the butt hurt should be.
Yeah, I think that, yeah, I mean, they're not going to, you know, anything that people asked if they were going to honor Micah or whatever. And I get, like, you have to ask the question if you want to know it. But I also don't think the Cowboys, as much as he was the best player on their team for the time he was there, like, he's also now on a rival team. Like, you traded him away. There doesn't need to be any kind of pomp and circumstance for it. I wouldn't also want to, like, point it out, seeing as he could have a game where he has 5 sacks and is fired up about it. Don't encourage Micah as much as you don't want to, right? You don't want that.
Yeah, I mean, he could do that, Paul, if he wasn't fired up, right?
Exactly, yeah.
He's that talented, and they know that. Yeah. They know, and so you know, they felt like they got what they needed to get to make the trade and to create salary cap, not just for this year, but for years to come. But he'd only been here 4 years. It's not like trading Tony Dorsett, which, by the way, they traded him to Denver, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, they traded Herschel Walker. Emmitt Smith didn't finish his career here. Neither did DeMarcus Ware. So this whole thing about a video treatment after 4 years, it might be a heck of a lot. And by the way, did they win a Super Bowl with him?
No. And that's the other thing I think fans, it's been a long time, Mickey, so maybe fans don't remember the measuring stick that the Cowboys should have for most of their things is, you know, Super Bowl teams versus non-Super Bowl teams.
Well, he's not going in the Ring of Honor, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. Look, does it look like maybe good news for the health of the secondary this week, at least health-wise? So far, performance-wise, has not been great.
Well, I think from if today was any indication that, you know, Deron Bland was able, after being limited yesterday, come back and practice again since he hurt his foot after the first game. Trayvon Diggs, who didn't practice yesterday, was able to come back and practice on a limited basis today, which means basically they were out there in helmets and shells. They just didn't take all the defensive snaps. So could they get those two guys on the field together at the same time? You know, that certainly would help. I hear all this stuff about, well, communication and, you know, knowing your assignments. How about just the quality of players they had to put out there to replace their starting cornerbacks that they planned on having? And so that certainly makes a difference. Now, can they get those guys out there and how much they play? You know, we'll find out about that, and if that helps the consistency of the coverage. The other thing that would help you guys is if they got pressure on an opposing quarterback. How about 1 sack in the game, which they didn't do with Caleb Williams? And it sure looks like, and I don't know if this is going to turn things around or not, that Jadeveon Clowney will play in the game on Sunday night. So can't hurt. You hope he helps.
Well, you mentioned getting pressure. They had a guy that used to do that.
Yes, I know.
Did they misjudge? And again, Clowney was added after the Micah trade. Did they not misjudge? Did they misjudge perhaps what they could still have with what was on the roster minus Micah at the edge or the pressure?
I think a little, because they were counting on very young guys to step up and make a huge difference, right? Marshawn Nealon's a nice player. He's not Micah Parsons. Donovan Ezeruku, who they drafted in the second round, is not Micah Parsons, but he's pretty good once he gets going, but he's a rookie, right? I think they were counting on a little bit more out of Dante Fowler. He hasn't shown up yet. And then I thought that, Sam Williams would be a guy to take off, and it hasn't happened yet after missing all of last year. So I think the combination of, maybe not getting enough pressure and then having problems on the back end, that's a bad recipe. And it certainly was against the Giants and certainly was against the Bears. But explain to me why what happened against Philadelphia happened. Had they not let Jalen Hurts run all over them, they played pretty good defense. They held him to 24 points. So the difference between that and, what's happened the next 2 weeks on defense is pretty drastically different.
Mickey, how do you expect to see them adjust in the passing game without CeeDee Lamb for as long as he's out? I mean, how much more Tolbert, how much more Turpin? And obviously, George Pickens is now the number one target that they have. And maybe number two becomes Jake Ferguson, who feasted last week. It felt like the second CeeDee went out, Dak was like, well, I'm going to feed 87 for a while.
Well, he fed them because they were dump off passes. Yeah. It wasn't like he was throwing the ball 15 yards down the field, right? That was the guy, the relief guy from pressure, or maybe not being able to read the defense quick enough, or guys weren't getting open quick enough. So it's like, okay, I'll just throw a 5-yard pass to Ferguson. I mean, do the math for me. Caught 13 passes for 82 yards.
Yeah, no, it wasn't glorious.
That's like 6.5 yards a catch. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, they're going to use him. To me, one way to counter some of this, because, look, you can tell me what Green Bay is going to do with Pickens, right?
Yeah, probably a double him.
Yeah, exactly. So that means the other guys that were in the third and fourth spots are now in the second and third spots, meaning Cavante, Turpin, and Tolbert. Now, can they hang on for 1 week? They likely will get Jonathan Mingo back next week. He's eligible to come off of IR. But you just don't replace one of the absolute best wide receivers in the NFL. And Pickens and him together, that was pretty dynamic duo. But now with Pickens there, you're right. They're going to double him. They're not going to let him beat him. And the other thing I think is they're not going to let Dak Prescott beat him either. So the Cowboys better be ready for a bunch of blitzes and a heavy line of scrimmage to keep him from beating. So the only way to kind of, nullify this stuff, you better run the football. And they have run the football, and they have run it well when they hold on to it when someone's trying to tackle them from behind, right? So, that's something you got to do. Now, having said that, now I got 2/5 of my offensive line missing, the center and guard with injuries, and I got to play backups there. So, it's, I used to tell Jason Garrett this all the time, you guys. When things like this would happen, I'd go, so you wanted to be a head coach, didn't you? Well, Brian Schottenheimer, welcome to the NFL.
Last thing, you mentioned the running game, and Williams has been fantastic. He's physical. I just like the lean. Yeah, he had the ball stripped away. He's got to do better than that and be more aware of where he is too. But has he been the bright spot when you look at this team on offense, Dak has played well. Don't get me wrong. He's looked really good. But has Williams been the bright spot with what he has shown for the first 3 weeks of the season?
I think the unexpected spot, right? Because I don't think anybody knew, what he was or what he could do. And, 2 years removed from his torn ACL, he was running like that in training camp. No one saw it, and no one saw it in preseason, David. But yeah, as an unexpected addition to the team for outsiders, yeah, absolutely. I mean, but he is what they thought he was gonna be, right? And they even got a little bit out of Sanders. The running game was working, and now you lose Tyler Booker, you lose Cooper Beebe for extended periods of time, and now you got to start your backup center guard at center with Brock Hoffman, and then your backup guard TJ Bass at guard. But now who's the next guy up at those positions? Because then it gets a little thin if any of those guys get hurt. But if they can assemble some semblance of a running game, I think that would hold the Green Bay defense at bay, which, by the way, is pretty darn good. Now, having said that, their offensive line has problems. They could be without 3 offensive linemen, 2 starters, and a guy who would have started for one of them in the game. We'll see how their injury report turns out on Friday.
All right, Mick, thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. Packers, Cowboys, one of the great rivalries of all time. And Sunday night, your showcase of that event with Micah coming back into Arlington to see what happens. Thank you, sir. Have a great weekend, Mixter.
Will do. Just remember this, though, when you mentioned the great rivalry, I just looked it up because I thought I knew this. I was right. The Packers have won 9 of the last 10 games against the Cowboys.
No, I wouldn't be surprised, including a couple like the Aaron Rodgers to what was that tight end's name on the sideline?
Playoff games,
yeah,
right?
and the Dez no catch. Yeah, there's been a couple.
Yeah.
Mason Crosby kicking 80-yard, Matt Flynn, all of that. Yeah. Thanks, Mickey. Appreciate
All right.
it.
See you.